All right, so welcome. I'm happy to welcome all of you to our first session called Schema and Child-Led Inquiries. And we have an expert with us today from MYIS International School in Thailand. And I would love for her to introduce herself to you today.
Hi, everyone. My name is Meredith. As Amy said, I am an early years coordinator at MIAS. I have been in early childhood education for 8 years. A lot of that has been with ages 2 to 6 years old. I'm really passionate about schema theory, and it's something that I really enjoy presenting on. I'm currently in a graduate program at Johns Hopkins University called the Mind, Brain, and Teaching, which is what takes neuroscience and education and puts them together. And so that's kind of what my passion is understanding how the human brain works, especially in early childhood, and how we can use that to best inform our teaching practice. So thank you, Amy, for getting this group together. I think it's always powerful as educators to come together and to learn together. We always can share from our experiences, and we owe it to the children in our care to constantly be seeking that progressive practice. So thank you, Amy. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate you joining us on this journey.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and present and we can get started.
Good.
Oops, share my screen first, though. All right. Okay, so we're just going to do a quick icebreaker to get to know each other. First and foremost, what you need to know about the waterfall is when you type it into the chat, you are not going to send it until I say send it. So that way that we all are sending it at the exact same time. Okay, that's kind of what makes it fun. So I just want you to think about what sparks your curiosity. This could be anything. It doesn't have to be education related. And it's just a way for us to get to know each other. So think about what sparks your curiosity, write your name, your school, your year level, and then your answer in the chat. And when I say go, we'll all press enter together. Okay. So you can get ready. I'll give you a couple minutes to think on that. All right. Are you ready? Okay. Enter. Go and press. Okay. Hey, I kind of cheated and I told you mine already. For me, my interest is the brain. Something that really sparks my interest. I see we have Katrina saying sound design and something unique and peculiar. Language is interest, and how children and adults learn. Inquiry with young students. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm so happy that you guys are here. If you're still, getting settled and stuff and you want to share as we go, that's okay. Okay, so I always like to give an agenda. I think it's really important that we give a big picture before we get to our work and what we're going to learn. So today we're going to learn about schema theory. So what place schemas are and why they're important. And then that's going to lead us into facilitating child-led inquiry. So how can we use our knowledge of schemas to facilitate inquiry? And then the last one is differentiating learning. So how do we use schema to support individual learning needs and interests in a group setting? So I hope that by the time we're done with this presentation, all three of these questions will be answered to you. And we're going to start by talking about what schema theory is. Okay, so schema theory is a cognitive structure. It is a thread of deeply internal and specifically directed thought that is demonstrated by repeated patterns in children's play. So it's actually the way that we organize knowledge and categorize objects and events. So as we're intaking this information, it's our way that the brain is kind of categorizing and making sense of it, really. So if you think about it, schema theory and inquiry go hand in hand, right? Inquiry is how we make sense of the world. Well, schema theory is what we're doing in the brain. We're organizing that information and making it make sense so that when we learn new information, we continue to organize it as well. Now, we never stop really being involved in schema theory. It's just not as apparent. You know, with children and schemas, we see it everywhere. They're dumping everything. They're throwing things. As adult, we kind of learn how to manage our schema behavior, but it still exists. It just becomes way more complex and difficult. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to break out into breakout rooms. Amy, do we have all 12 or are we
We only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It looks like we have 6. We have half of our group.
Half of our group? Okay, we could do 3 and 3 if we wanted to.
We can do that. I don't know if you can see the screen. Mine is still on your first page.
Huh?
So when I look at the screen, all I see is your introduction slide right now.
Oh no. Okay, let me see. That is not mine. Okay, do you see that I'm on the jigsaw
Yes,
now?
I can see the jigsaw now.
Huh. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, I'm gonna hit present, full screen, present.
There we go. Okay. So,
okay, all right, I'm just gonna go back so you can see the previous screen when I discussed schema theory. This activity is a jigsaw protocol. Amy will send you a link to the PDF in the group chat. It goes through 8 different categories of schema, and you can, in your breakout group, decide who's going to read what. So you'll cover either 3 or 4, or 2 or 3, and then you will write your key takeaways, and then you'll share with the people in your breakout group what you've learned. Okay, so this is from Children's Lively Minds. I highly, highly recommend it. It has a lot of great information about schema, but also different solutions for helping children navigate the different schemas. So we're going to look at that now.
All right, so I'm going to do 3 breakout rooms, and then once they've been set, I will go ahead and send you all the document. Okay, that's everybody back, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, that's 7. That's everybody back. Thank you for having those breakout conversations. I'm sorry for the snafu. One of the groups got the document and then the other 2 did not. So we'll do better for the next breakout group.
I wonder, was it breakout group 1 that got it?
It was breakout group 3.
Oh, maybe it's because you sent it and they had not yet broken out. I don't know. Now we know. Now we know. Thank you for your patience, everyone. Did anyone want to share a key takeaway that they had with the whole group? We would love to hear from anyone.
I'll share. Hello. So I looked at positioning and ordering and basically just shared, yes, I've noticed this in my students as well when they use their own initiative to just order things around them like Legos or colors or numbers blocks, things like that.
Thanks for sharing, Kimberly. Does anyone else want to share?
Hi.
Hi, Suki.
I did the rotational schema, and I really found it interesting how at 5 months of age, children already have the preference of round, curved objects and actions. And brain imaging from these babies have proved that the parts of the brain that indicate anxiety, aggression, comes from when they were looking at straight lines and corners. And when they were looking at the curved lines, brain imaging said that it lit up in the brains of the parts that meant that they were feeling calm and safe. And the fact that when we smile, we're more round, and when we frown, we have a straighter. And then obviously babies sort of are more attractive, and we all are more attracted to smiling faces. So that was really interesting to me.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing, Suki. Michelle had made a similar connection in our breakout group as well.
Yeah. I'd like to say something. The one thing that stood out for me was trajectory, where children love propelling things. And it was quite important where it said, we as teachers always tell children, don't do that. Be careful. Stop. It's dangerous. But actually, it is so important to their development. And if we stop them, we are actually hindering their development and causing children to be clumsy and not able to move and pick up things. So trajectory really stood out for me.
Thank you for sharing, Michelle. Did anyone else want to share?
Yeah, for me, I think the thing that I realized now is so this whole idea of schema is very intuitive to us humans, because I was sharing with Kimbo and with Amy, people, a schema is like a mental coda for experience, right? And so because 4 to 5-year-old kids, I'm a kindergarten teacher, they don't have a lot of prior knowledge. You don't think they have enough schema to make sense of things, but they actually do. They intuitively order, position, estimate trajectory, and to me it's fascinating, and I feel like it just supports the inquiry process that kids as young as 2-3 can intuitively figure things out on their own, because we all have it in us to process things despite, I don't know, having just 4 years in our lives.
That's so interesting, Katrina, that you said that, is because Michelle and I were talking about very similar. We even use that exact phrase of, they've only been on this earth for 4 years and they're already making sense of it. And they truly are natural inquirers and used very, very similar thoughts and language. Thank you for sharing. Did anyone else want to share their key takeaway? Okay, I will then share my screen again, and this time, please let me know if the slides are not moving. Okay. All right, so thank you for that. Are we good? Do we go to the next one? Okay, yeah. All right. No?
I still see the jigsaw.
Weird. And now?
No, still jigsaw.
Okay. And then at your own pace. Okay, now a new one, yes?
Yes.
Okay, but we'll still make sure that it goes. Okay, so I just wanted to make a quick distinction. Interest versus theory is, I think oftentimes we see our students interacting with something over and over and over again, and we think like, oh, that's their interest. They like that. That's something that they're really interested in. And sometimes that can be true. Maybe a child is really interested in cars, or maybe they're more interested in the trajectory schema, and they would be happy to roll around or to move anything. So, is it bubbles, or are they actually interested in transforming? Could we provide them with many different materials and things that they could use to transform? Is it water? A lot of kids really love running taps, right? That might not be because they're interested in water, but because they're interested in the flow of water, the movement of water. So it's really something to consider as we're observing the students in our class is, is it their interest, or is it a schema that they're currently working through and making sense of? Did it move?
No.
All right, we're just going to stay on the smaller screen. At least we'll hide it. Okay. Yep. And then I'll zoom in. So then we just don't have to worry about that. Okay. Oop. Okay. So next we're going to move on to child-led inquiry. So children's schemas, which illuminate their patterns of behavior and thought, can open the door to a wealth of learning opportunities. And I think this directly correlates with what Katrina was talking about is, children are natural inquirers. And it's our job to match the curriculum to their overriding interests and schemas. So that's our job as educators. And kind of the equation that I have in my head when I'm planning for inquiry is this. So how do we facilitate using schema theory? Is I think we take their interests, their theories and ideas, plus our curriculum, and that's how we plan. Okay. And what this can look like is it can be provocations, and it can also be teacher-directed invitations. Okay. And I just want to go over the difference in those two. So a provocation is student wonderings and ideas built on their theories or explanation to help them deepen their thinking and make connections. Now, these ones are going to be open-ended, changeable. There's no right answer or wrong answer. And, it's not a teacher-directed activity. For instance, in this photo, we had pom-pom balls out and paint, and we thought that the students were going to throw them at a piece of paper that was up. But one of the children in my class found a mallet, we have different tools on our veranda, and she started to hit the pom-pom balls, and then the paint was exploding out of them. So she was seeing the paint come out of it, and that was her own inquiry. She used that provocation to explore those materials in a different way than we intended. Whereas teacher-directed invitations are still important, but it's something that the teacher is leading. So for instance, in this one of my co-teachers was teaching the kids how to make orange juice so they could independently do it themselves. So we broke it down into steps, and then they made their own. So I'm just going to show you what a planner would look like in my classroom using our knowledge of schemas. So we would take the student interest. So we saw a lot of our students playing in the kitchen. Okay, that was something that we noticed they liked. Now, according to their theories, they'd also been exploring the disconnecting schema. So they were wanting to rip and tear down everything. We had displays in the classroom, pulled down, ripped up. They were just wanting to take apart anything that they could see or get their hands on. They'd also been shaking and noticing objects that were inside the classroom that may have something in it. So kind of interested in that enclosing and enveloping as well. Our curriculum, what we were currently working on was how the world works. So exploring Earth's natural resources help us better understand our world. And we were focusing on form as a key concept. We were going to hit these learning targets. So critical thinking, working on fine motor skills and coordination, demonstrating positive approaches to learning persists, and demonstrates knowledge of the physical properties of objects and materials. So we gave them knives and cutting boards, mortar and pestles, scissors, natural resources with seeds inside, and we put those in the kitchen. So we're catering to their interests. We know that they like to have dramatic play in the kitchen, but we also know that they're taking apart anything and everything. So let's give them the tools to take things apart, and let's give them the place and space for them to explore that schema further. So what did it look like? Okay, we just put vegetables, teach them how to chop. We put potatoes, mortar and pestles. We even found these type of long beans with little seeds inside that when you put on the light table, you could see the seeds through hand. So again, letting them explore. And because they were so interested in this schema, they were extremely focused, and they weren't ripping up the paper in the classroom. So next, we're going to move on to differentiating learning from this. One thing that I think is really powerful with schemas is you can have children exploring multiple schemas within one child. You can also have different children exploring different schemas. And so a question might arise is like, how do I meet the needs of all the students in my class? It's just like any learning standard that we have, any unit of inquiry that we're covering. We know that our children are in different places in their learning. And so when we look at different provocations set up, we can really create these provocations that can explore different schemas, right? So in the previous one, it was exploring disconnecting, but it was also exploring that enclosing of trying to get at what's inside something and figure that out too. So really, you want to try to create multiple schemas in one provocation. So I just want to kind of give us some ways to practice and see what that could look like. So this time, before we get into the breakout room, we're going to, yes.
Sorry, there was a question in the chat. What is the
Yes.
age group from this?
This was a 2 and 3-year-old class. Yeah, 2 and 3 years old. So would have been second term. So I would say 70% 3 years old and then 30% 2.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. I'm fortunate to work at a school that does allow us to use tools and materials like that with young learners. Okay, so I'm going to share a PDF that has 4 different provocations in it. And I want you to independently first in your breakout room to think about all the different schemas that we just learned about that could be explored. Each one has multiple different schemas that could be addressed. And then what developmental standards could be met. So you can use your own curriculum that you use, the learning targets that you use in your school. And then what might the children's interest be, you know? And then you can, after you're finished, you can take turns sharing in your breakout room. Or if you'd rather discuss as a whole, that's okay too.
Perfect. Did everybody get the document I just sent? Yeah? Okay. I don't think I sent it fast enough last time. So I'm going to go ahead and put everybody in rooms. Are we thinking how many minutes?
I think being mindful of time, I think we could do 7 minutes.
7 minutes? Okay, 7 minutes. All right. Welcome back to the main group. I hope that was an interesting conversation. I know we had a good conversation in the group that I was a part of.
Yeah, did anyone want to share some conversation piece that they had in their breakout group with the whole room?
So one thing that really surprised me was when we prepare provocations, we think of just 1 or 2 things, but by looking at the provocations that were on the slide, it can actually encompass so many different schemas. And so now it's reminded me to, when I do plan a provocation, to think of various ways so that I can incorporate as many different schemas as possible.
Thank you, Michelle. Did anyone else want to share? Right. Did anyone have any questions about the provocations that you wanted answered or clarifications? It was nice to have Michelle's viewpoint as we were talking through them. No? All right. I will share mine one last time. All right, so I just wanted to end us on this quote. This is Alison Gopnik. She's a really amazing researcher if you ever have the opportunity to read any of her books. So children are far better learners than we are. These remarkable learning abilities reflect special features of children's brains, features that may actually make young children more conscious than adults. And so if I can leave you guys with anything tonight, I hope that it is that you see the students in your class as natural inquirers and that they are already inquiring into their environment. And it's really up to us to observe that and see what they're inquiring and then help them to deepen their understanding in that inquiry and just providing them with the space and the materials to do that. And if we're thinking about the trajectory schema, to do it in a safe way. But, you know, they really are intaking so much information during the day. And I think schemas really help early childhood educators to name it and to notice it and to plan for it. So thank you for your time.
Well, a big thank you to you, Meredith. I really appreciate you taking this hour to share with us about schema and child-led inquiries, and I hope it was beneficial to all of you. I know that this is an important part of early childhood education, and I'm really hoping that, again, like I said, this was beneficial, and I will be sending out an email tomorrow, which has information. I'll link it to the website that it'll hopefully be posted up by then, as well as the Google form for any feedback you have for me, which I'll use in my research. So again, a big thank you to Meredith and all of you for joining us today.